right, welcome to another episode of The Fiver.
The Fiver.
This is my good friend David, who I haven't talked to in quite a while. It's funny, we met in Colorado after I moved back from Vancouver. Then he left and moved to Vancouver, which is one of my favorite places on earth.
Pretty awesome.
Thank you so much for doing this. I actually have started calling this the Fiver plus some. Actually, my Gmail is for this, and I actually need to check it, is the Fiver plus
Plus
Yeah.
Okay.
Get it? Because plus and
Plus.
OME. Yeah, cheers.
So nobody can find your email.
No, I don't know what I'm doing.
All right.
I have a wonderful audience of like 20.
You know what? Now you got 21. It's good.
There you go.
Baby steps, man. Baby steps.
Yeah. And with the lighting today, actually I probably should go turn on the lights, but whatever. My head keeps disappearing. So
okay. I got a raccoon. It's all right.
That's sweet. I have fake background from Parks and Rec.
That's
because I love Zoom.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
You just have to have either a GIF or a JPEG. But yeah, so that's what I got. So first off, and actually the sun's setting, so I'm gonna ask you the first question. I'm gonna disappear for a minute and turn up the lights right on my dining room table. But
I'll just talk like
you have been actor. Let's see, an actor, salesperson for one of the most conservative Christian companies ever, Group Publishing. You've done so many things in the short amount of time that I've known you.
That's my short young life.
Yeah, I've known you for probably like 20 years now.
Yeah, feels like it, right? Yeah. It's been a while. Anyway.
I know, isn't it weird?
Yeah.
A lot of my stories include you and Makisha.
See? And they should.
It's really funny. Like one of my favorite of Makisha's was when we went to Christianity 21 out in Minneapolis. Shane Claiborne wearing like sackcloth and ashes with the best MacBook I have ever seen.
I had no idea that even happened. Look at all the secrets I don't even know. Wow.
So anyways, whatever, you dropped her off at my house.
Yeah. Yeah, I never picked her up again.
No. By the way, where is Makisha? That's the biggest question.
It is. She's somewhere.
All right. So.
Dun, dun, dun. It's a mystery.
You have been in a movie with Malcolm McDowell.
I have, and Dean Cain. If that means
Dean Cain.
Yeah.
I found
it's on Amazon
movie
Prime.
At Walmart one time.
Yes. Now it's on Amazon Prime. I just had my videographer say, I was looking at your acting history, and I realized on Amazon Prime when he looked me up on IMDb, and then he looked up the movie, it's on Amazon Prime. He goes, I saw the scenes you were in. You were really good. He didn't actually watch the movie. He just saw the scenes I was in. Yeah.
Oh, God.
It's on Amazon Prime. It's called Black Hole, and it's nothing.
Yeah, you were really good.
Oh, thank you.
That movie was weird.
It was weird. I was in a lot of weird movies.
Yeah, well, fair enough. And you were in like a VW commercial, too.
I was, local VW.
Yeah.
That was fun. I got to drive a 1968 Beetle. It was cool.
Yeah.
Trying to pull a U-turn was a pain in the ass, but yeah, it was fun.
So tell us about your journey, what you're doing now, and just kind of your journey so far.
Well, how much time?
I'm gonna disappear. I'm gonna turn on the light because it's getting dark right now.
Gotcha.
Where I'm sitting. So just keep talking. I still can hear you.
Okay, sounds good.
So,
it'll be weird, like I'm talking and you're walking away from me. What do you do? Come back. No, I'm just
what?
It's okay. It's okay. What? Oh, the screen looks weird now. All right. So anyway, I had a journey in Colorado of working for a Christian publishing company. I was an assistant pastor, and to make what could be like a 5-hour long story a little shorter, so Dan's wife doesn't come in and say you're still talking to him.
It's fine.
Started,
She can come in. The dogs will come in. It'll be
yeah,
perfect.
be a big party. But I started to have some personal discrepancies with the people that I was in, the associations and organizations and companies and churches that I was involved with, and disagreeing with things like the care of the environment, particularly things like homosexuality or other types of sexuality that isn't heterosexual, that they thought would be wrong. And I disagreed with that quite strongly. And so they kicked me out. And that began the journey of me saying, well, what do I believe? What do I want to do? Which got me into acting, which I was in acting in high school and in college and loved it, and meandered away from that to follow down this interesting rabbit trail that I went down. And when I jumped back into acting, I had a goal to get into the Screen Actors Guild and to start doing plays. And I did several plays before I left to Vancouver. And I did The Black Hole on Amazon Prime. It has nothing to do with black holes, but I don't know why they renamed it. It used to be called The Mind's Eye, which made much more sense. If that makes no sense either. But
And it's not the Disney version of The Black Hole.
No, it's not like
with
the
one of my favorites
Maximilian or
as a
whatever,
child.
right? Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, and it's and that's on Disney, so right. So if you go to Amazon Prime, you get The Black Hole I was in. If you get a Disney Plus, then you get the other one with Maximilian and the guy with the blades and the meteor going down the middle of the ship. And oh my god, that was so freaky. I remember watching it as like a little kid. And so I digress, but yeah, I was wanting to know what was on the other side of a black hole. Anyway, it's through that long meandering journey and going through acting and then kind of sort of reverting back to my party college days for a while. Started to settle on a career in acting until I moved to Vancouver, did Black Hole / Mind's Eye, got into the Screen Actors Guild and thought, oh my gosh, it's a time to move to Canada. My kids were like, everybody was like, let's go to Canada. So we went to Canada. Was going to pursue acting, but at that point they just pulled funding for acting. So the Vancouver acting just dried up, which is weird because then they were actually putting money into film in Colorado. So I just went to the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah.
But at that point, everything kind of fell apart, and there was no acting, there was no job, there was nothing. Like everything I had just kind of fell apart, and so had decided to. I'm still getting like work alerts. Decided to get involved. The only guy who could hire me was a guy who was doing basically like a marketing business, almost like a what are those things? And so it's you talk to your friends and make them buy stuff, whatever they're called.
Mid-level marketing?
Yeah, multi-level marketing. So I didn't want to say pyramid scheme because it was a legit company, but at the same time,
hey, I love Pampered Chef. I sold Pampered Chef for 2 years. I have great kitchen equipment.
Yeah,
and then I stopped because I didn't want to do it anymore. Yeah.
I know. Yeah, well, me too. And that was it. I did it for a couple of years. We sold some services to people, and I did okay. But I think mostly what I learned was business, because the guy that recruited me / hired me was a successful businessman. And so rather than just like somebody working from home doing this on the side, this was like a full-time, he had a full-time business and then was doing this as kind of a way to just supplement his income. And I learned a ton of business, got to do some public speaking. And I had done public speaking off and on for years. In fact, before I was involved in acting in high school, I was doing public speaking. I won public speaking contest in like 8th grade. So I knew that I could do it. And I had always kind of done it when somebody would come up and say, can you help me with this speech? Sure. When I was an assistant pastor, obviously I spoke a lot to crowds. And so it kind of triggered in me saying, oh wait, why don't I do this as a business? Like people actually speak for a living. And so it's been the first couple of years was kind of trying to figure it out, get my footing. What is my message? I started out doing kind of corporate communication, public speaking training. My first real client was Plenty of Fish, which was the employees, not the people not the dating people, but the employees. um,
That's
but,
actually where my sister-in-law met her husband.
oh, really? Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. So I might have trained. Well, I don't know how long have they been together?
Shoot. So I got, oh man, this is embarrassing. So I got married 2014.
I don't know
So
the
it was
exact number of
probably
days.
like 2012.
Oh,
Eh,
okay. So yeah. So
maybe a
no, it was
little
after
earlier.
this. So
Yeah.
so this was a couple 4 years ago, I guess. I trained their staff on communication, public speaking, as well as like impromptu speaking, putting together a speech, overcoming fear, things of that nature, and it got really well. Like the feedback on that was that every employee never heard a bad thing. The HR department was like, "Oh my gosh, this was like the best lunch and learn we've ever had." And I'm like, "Yeah, maybe I'm onto something." So long story short, it's been meandering for a couple of years. I was trying to figure out what my message was because I didn't want to just turn it into another dry business. I loved
Right.
doing it, but I didn't want, there was something more. There was the acting that I had behind it. And so took about 6 months off a couple of years ago and just, I would love to say that I sat and I meditated. I was silent and I listened to the
You went to
universe
the mountain.
speak to me. But really, I did that, but mostly I just played video games. But there were more moments that I spent actually sitting and listening and trying to figure out what I wanted to do. So, but it wasn't like I was fasting from social interaction and technology and sitting on a log in the forest. I would spend a few more minutes a day, maybe 20 minutes a day or so, just kind of meditating. And what I was expecting, and maybe if I sat in a log in the forest, I would get the lightning bolt. Never got the lightning bolt, but it was kind of a seepage of inspiration.
There's not a lot of lightning in Vancouver, though.
And not a lot, though. You're right. We were supposed to have a thunderstorm like 4 days ago, and instead it was sunny. So I was like, well, that didn't work. But,
Yeah.
Vancouver, it's like you
Yeah.
can't predict the weather at
No.
all. So chances are it'll rain more often than not. That's about it. But you never know. And so this weekend it's supposed to be really warm and sunny. It'll probably rain. But I, uh, I, I, I sat, and after about 6 months, I was just starting to write little notes and little ideas and things like that. I put together about a 20-minute speech that I went to an advanced Toastmasters. If you guys don't know what Toastmasters is, it's a public speaking organization, international. And so there are people where you can go and you can learn public speaking. And every group is a little bit different, but I was associated with a few of them here. And one of them was kind of a feedback group, like they evaluate, like the whole group, everybody who shows up evaluates the speech. And I was connected with that one. And I thought, okay, well, I have one. So I arranged, set a time, gave a 20-minute speech. And I sat down, and the guy, there's supposed to be one guy who stands up to evaluate it, and then everybody else in the group can provide input. So this guy stands up and goes, I've seen you speak. I've seen you win awards speaking. And you've always done an amazing job. He said, but this is the first speech I've ever heard you say that you had to give. And I'm like, that's it, I'm on it. And I knew I was on the right track because that came from me, not what I'm expecting others to think I need to speak on, but really comes from my heart and what's inside of me, which is now sort of, it's become verbalized into things like storytelling and connecting with others on a deeper level, with the idea of leadership, people in leadership positions or people who are interested in leadership. How do you become a leader that can influence others with an effective way by connecting with them rather than just by using your position? And that we're more influential than we think we are, and that we're more connected if we make that effort to connect. And then I teach techniques and stuff on how to do that. And that's over the last couple of years, it's been starting to gain traction.
So
yeah, that's
tell
my
me
journey.
about
Yeah.
that was some powerful stuff right there.
Whoa.
You're more influential than you think you are.
More influential
I
than you
think
think.
that is super important for people to hear. What does that mean?
I studied some sociology when I was going through this. I've always been interested in sociology, even though my degree is in communications. And one of the things that I learned, and you're gonna put me on the spot because I'm trying to think of the guy's name, Nicholas Christakis, which I believe is the sociologist that came up with this theory. And you know the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so everybody's related here. Everybody's connected to Kevin
I'm
Bacon.
like 2
6
degrees actually from Kevin
Yeah.
Bacon.
Hey, me too. Woo. All right, good. Hey, we all need to get together and have a 2 degrees of Kevin Bacon party.
Right. And just eat bacon. Yeah.
Right. I'll eat
Fair
veggie
enough.
bacon. Right. I will. I'll eat veggie bacon. So Nicholas Christakis actually proposed a theory that our influence, not our connection, but our actual influence other people actually goes out 3 degrees. So when I talk to Dan, I'm not just influencing Dan positively or negatively. I'm influencing Dan's friends, his wife's parents, his
Yeah.
parents' neighbors. And that influence diminishes and
Dogs are coming, by the way.
but I can hear him. That's okay. I am influencing Dan's
Yes.
dogs by 1 degree of separation. But
It's okay. I already told him that the dogs might come out.
it's a warning. It's okay. It's all good. Woof. I speak dog.
They're out. They're out in the backyard.
It's all good. And dogs are great. And
Sorry.
that's all good. So really the idea is we're influential whether we make people smile, make people cry, or worse, we're indifferent. And then people just don't care about us. Well, what kind of influence is that? It means we're just creating bland all over the world. But if we make a little extra effort to connect with somebody, make them smile, feel appreciated, feel loved, feel valued, then the way they feel immediately then will impact who they talk to when the conversation that I have, for example, with Dan is over. Maybe he treats his wife a little differently. I know yours treats your wife well. It's great, or your friend, whoever it might be.
No, actually, that's super insightful, and that's one of the. This is so fascinating. This is like the universe thing. One of the things, with the pandemic, which is the reason why I'm doing this.
Right.
Cheers. Is I realized like I just love talking to people and connecting. One of the things that I've learned is, I'm going to tell people, even if I don't talk to them all that much, that I love them.
Good man. See? Yeah, that's huge. That's huge.
Not a lot of people say that.
Yeah.
And for everyone that I honestly say that to, I truly love them. I had somebody post kind of a bullshit video about coronavirus yesterday, and then I felt bad, and I had to delete Facebook off my phone again, because that's what happened. Because
I've done that. Yeah.
reading it in the middle of the night, or
Right.
a panic attack, and I'm like, I'm right. Rah!
Oh my God.
And then I'm like, oh yeah, I probably could have done that better. But so
yeah,
I ended up private messaging her and said, I haven't talked to you since college, which, God, I graduated from college in 2001, so like 20 years.
Right.
But I love you. Tell somebody that you don't normally tell that you love them, that you care about them. And that's the important thing, especially with this pandemic. So
I agree. And I was on a Instagram Live just the other day with a friend here, and one of the things that I've been listening to and psychologists and stuff are saying is make that extra effort, be extra forgiving, and make that extra effort to connect with others, because we're missing that personal connection. So it's more important that we make that connection through.
I think one of the biggest things is, and we'll get into this later because this is one of my new questions. I took out one of my other questions for this, but the extra forgiving, like forgive other people, and protect yourself, not just willy-nilly forgive everyone else, but forgive like I am the worst person, like who other people might see that I slighted them, or I flaunted my giant brain because I'm compensating for things.
Oh, you're so smart, Dan. You know it.
I know. I'm super smart.
We're all
tiny
intimidated by
penis,
you, right?
super smart, um, but apologizing. And it takes a lot, but it's the
Yes,
most amazing thing to apologize to somebody.
it is. It is. It totally
And,
is.
and for somebody to accept that and to kind of move on from there. So it's
It is.
fascinating how the universe brings everything together, because that's like the biggest thing that I've learned in this time. And you brought it up even without me bringing it up.
Look at that. See, after all these years,
Yeah.
we're still connected. Right?
We are so connected. We're gonna be the best of friends forever.
We are. X Factor. This is
Two
over.
best friends.
See, I was going to play the Bengals' "Eternal Flame," so
Of
it's my
course
new
you
song for
would.
you, Dan.
My wife finds it funny too, because when I have my panic attacks, they always happen in the middle of the night. I'll just like watch YouTube videos of '90s bands.
I've got a whole '90s playlist on my phone, right? Totally, and it's like, right.
Do
I
you
don't know
know
if it makes you
Matthew
feel better or
Goodband, by
not.
the way?
Go to who?
Matthew Goodband.
No.
Oh, he's from Vancouver.
Oh my gosh! All right, let me look it up right now. Matthew
Yeah,
Goodband.
Matthew Good. And then Matthew Good Band. They were popular when I was in college in the late '90s. Uh, out there.
Matthew. Whoops. Well, that was Matthew. Let me try and do that again. Matthew. Oh, see, I typed in Matthew, and Matthew Goodband was the first thing that showed up.
Oh,
Hello, Time
so
Bomb.
good. And he just has a new album out too.
He
I
does.
was
Okay.
listening to it in the car. Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, my wife also bought me a 4 CD set of popular '90s musics.
Oh, beautiful. See, there you
Yeah.
go. Right? Like, I've always been a Goo Goo Dolls fan. So, and their new
Oh,
album is really good. Yeah, their new
really?
album came out like
Huh.
last year or whatever, but it's really good. Like, it's as good as the stuff in the '90s. Like, sometimes they're kind of hanging on too long, right? But
Yeah,
these,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I was really impressed. So, anyway, Matthew Goodband. I just added him to my favorites.
Super good.
Beautiful. Okay.
All right. So,
Oh, okay. I'm like
question
5
number
missed calls.
2.
I'm ignoring them all. Go ahead. Question number 2. I'm ready. Dos.
What does COVID look like being in Vancouver? You're 90 minutes away from one of the hot spots. Um, what did quarantining, all of that stuff look for you guys? Because I
Yeah.
don't see much from Canada. I only hear about New York and Seattle. So
True. It's interesting because at first it was like scary, right? And then everybody got sent home like middle of March, like almost everybody. So plexiglass goes up for grocery store workers, and same stuff you guys are getting. And but almost everything in BC was in like 2 assisted living facilities. And BC has done an amazing job, and I'm not sure who to give credit for, but certainly the government deserves credit for this. And Dr. Bonnie Henry, who's like a hero here in BC, who's the doctor in charge of BC, she the curve is really flattened, and so we've all been, I think, pretty good. Like we have take our dog out, and I take the dog out. You see someone walking on the sidewalk. I'm like, okay, dog goes into the street, which we've trained her not to walk in the street. So she's like, what the fuck are you doing walking me in the street? She's like trying to pull me back to the sidewalk. But you get around, walk the dog. And there's a few people where you're like, okay, you're being annoying. Obviously, we're not social distancing. But for the most part, people have done really well. And because the concentration was mostly in just those assisted living facilities, they're expecting that our cases will drop to 0 by mid-June. They, starting May 14th, is going to loosen the social distancing from right now, like basically nobody except for who you live with, to you can meet up to 6 people. And so be careful with it, but things are going to, I can get my hair cut hopefully in like June. So because right now I'm like, I'm like the guy selling drugs on the street, but but it's starting to get better. I think there was I don't hear, to me, because there was so much explaining going on, and I work at a college as well as doing my business, and of course my business and things like public speaking had to kind of shift and take a break. It's been a really good
Yeah.
chance for me to rebrand and re-advertise and remarket and stuff, and work on new material and all that stuff. So it's been a good time for that. But there hasn't been a lot of fear. I think there's been a lot of caution, and I think there's been a really positive response for the most part. You get a sunny day here, everybody wants to go to the park and the beach. So there's all obviously a little bit of that.
Yeah.
But for the most part, people have done a really nice job, I think, of obeying, knowing that the less we obey social distancing, the longer this is going to go on. And the more we just respond, the faster we can kind of take incremental steps back to normal. Most of it has been because of a daughter who's in grade 12 and another one who's in grade 9, and there's concerts and there's shows and there's field trips and there's graduation and there's prom and there's like all the shit that they're supposed to do, especially for my grade 12, that has all the last time I'm on stage doing a performance, last time I'm in choir doing a choir thing, last time I get graduation, I get prom, I get all these things that were supposed to happen. She's on the grad committee, and now all that it's gone. And so dealing with disappointment of expectations, I think, has been the biggest thing. And I know we're not the only family. My director that I work with, she's got a grade 12 as well. Same thing. She's like, I just bought like an $800 prom dress for my daughter, and now we can't use it. I'm like, you better get married in this thing. But there's that disappointment of expectations, and then you sort of adjust to that new reality and go, okay, it is what it is. What can we do? What can we make up for it? We can make up for that. We can have an extra party. We can do a graduation thing later. They're working on what that might look like. And so that sense of loss, or that sense of lost time is shifting a little bit to say, yeah, it's okay. We'll make something work. But there's that huge gap, right, between expectation and what happens, especially if you plan your whole life for something.
Well,
and then you have to
this is
deal with
also
this.
something that we've never dealt with. So now all of a sudden, you have to create new rites of passage.
Good point. Yeah, that's a really good way to put it. It's a really good way to put it. It's such a
Like, and we didn't know about it. Like, I can't imagine another time in history aside from, I guess, maybe World War II, but I mean, at least we knew Nazis weren't going to infect you.
Right. If you're in Kansas, you're probably okay. Like, right. Yeah. It's just, you're right. And here, like I heard something that was really good. It says, as humans, as a species, when something happened, we banded together. We connected on a deeper level to fight whatever it was. But now the very thing that would cause us in our brain to want to band together is forcing us apart. And that's where the anxiety and stuff comes in, because our primal instinct is to seek out people that we can find shelter and comfort in. And now that's been taken away. And there's a huge disconnect there.
Oh, that's interesting. I hadn't even thought about that.
Today
I had an epiphany because I struggle with anxiety. I actually, my wife hates the fact that I tell her that I miss the Depression. The Depression is my favorite.
Right.
Because at least I could sleep.
Right. No, it's true.
I didn't have to rock myself to sleep or do this.
Right? Yes. Okay. I've done that.
This is the butterfly.
Right, totally. I've done it on my knees, but yeah, I've done that. I have a therapist in Colorado that told me to do that. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, it's the repetitive motion. It just works so well. Yeah, we've never had to deal with that, and it's just so weird.
It is weird. Yeah, it is weird. Like, how are you? Well, yeah. Like, and it's forced me to kind of look at the world and go, well, here we are. What am I do today? What am I grateful for today? What can I do today? It's a lot more meditation and taking up yoga and, things to help me be mindful of every day and what that's going to look like. Knowing that if I set myself up to go, well, it should be like this, and I was planning on this, and I was going to do this and all that. If I do that, I'm just going to get depressed. And I don't know what the future is, and that's going to make me anxious. And I totally get it. And so it's not easy. It's not like I just wake up going, I'm thankful for today, but to force myself to go, okay, Here's what I do today. Yeah, and it totally is. It totally is practice. So movement, that working out really helps. Getting a little bit of fresh air really helps.
Yeah.
And doing that mindfulness of just meditative talk. I heard an interview with the professor who started, it's at Yale or Harvard, they did the psychology of happiness. It just started an actual class, and she's like, yeah, it's a new class, and like 1,000 students like signed up the first time she did it, and so now she's running the science of happiness class, and that's one of the things that she said is how important is it that we're mindful, that we meditate, or we just sit and we're grateful. Like write down 3 things you're grateful for every day. She goes, amazingly, and after a couple of weeks, you get into the habit of being grateful rather than being like, oh my God, this is so horrible, right? Because it's the story inside our heads that propel us forward. Not that it makes it easy, and we still get anxious, we still get worried, we still get uncertain, we still get depressed, but little tools can kind of help us get through it.
One of the neat things that I think I've found is I've always been a solution-focused and cognitive behavioral therapist.
Yeah.
So it's like, you do A, B, and C, this is where you want to be. Now with this, like there's no like, what is this gonna look like? I can create this. And I always was a jerk and hated mindfulness and DBT.
And you still are. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I still am a jerk. No, I'll fully embrace that.
It's okay, Dan. You're a jerk, but I love you.
I love you too.
Aw, you're not a jerk.
Aww. But yeah, that DBT mindfulness piece, yes, it is amazing. That I think it was easy for me being, I'm a weird therapist because I'm very like solution focused. Here are the results. This is what you do. Give me the scientific data. Do this A, B, and C.
That's a good therapist, right? So
what was that?
That's a good therapist. That's good. You're finding solutions, not just having people talk about the
I'm a good therapist for some people.
Yeah. Okay.
You know what? Here's the thing: is I am a shitty therapist. I really am. I'm a shitty therapist. I'm a good assessor.
That's good.
I am good at seeing what is going on. Where does somebody need to be in that exact moment? I love the fact that my hand is disappearing and I can see that.
It's awesome. It's magic. You're learning magic.
Magic. No, but that's where like I totally excelled. It was my bread and butter. It was so good. But then I also got super burned out by hearing everyone's immediate terrible trauma.
Sure, I get it. Yeah.
And thank Jeebus, the universe, God, whoever you want to believe in. I'm Lutheran now, by the way.
Oh, hey, there, you made a shift. Right. I'm kind of a Buddhist agnostic.
The bread of bread is bread.
My mom would be so proud of you.
Yeah, no, thankfully for my wife, she made me Lutheran. I love it.
That's great.
But yeah, I'm not, I am not a good therapist. I'm a good assessor.
Oh, there you go.
And I recognize that. I'm a good interviewer, is what I hear.
Yeah, so far.
I just like hearing people's stories. I don't want to fix you. Tell me how you feel.
I feel like how you first start spelling assessor is ass, and I think that's a good fit for you.
Have you ever done the Enneagram? Because that's huge in the Lutheran community.
No.
Oh, so the Enneagram has like 8 personalities. It's like a spiritual Myers-Briggs.
Wow. Okay.
So I'm an ENFP. I like the Myers-Briggs.
Me too.
Like a horoscope.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Like I'm extroverted, but I'm like the introverted extrovert. Like I just want to be with the people that make me feel good, or that challenge me.
Yeah.
So the Enneagram, So they have 8 different personalities. I don't know much about it. I'm an 8. I don't know. They have what they call wings, which I don't fully understand. But anyways, I'm an 8, and that's it's an asserter, but I call it an asserter.
We're still
So
thinking.
I'm an
Beautiful.
asserter.
You are, and you're a damn good one.
That's what I think. The other funny thing is, see, this is what I love about these, is I just turn it back to myself. I just really want to just talk about myself.
So a little bit narcissism.
Eh,
Narcissism.
narcissism. I'd wear a mask if I went to the Honeywell factory in Phoenix. Uh, anyways, my wife is funny. She's like, "You do realize you're kind of intimidating."
Really?
Like,
I never thought so.
apparently I am, because
Really?
I really like to argue. I didn't
Yeah.
know that. It's one of those fun things that you learn in your late 30s, and you're like, oh yeah, I'm kind of a dick. Guys, did you know I was kind of a dick? I just like to argue.
Oh, maybe it's because we agree so much that I've never seen that side of you. Or I've just agreed with you so much that I don't see that that's,
Well,
I
because
see it as an
we're
asset.
kind of on the same page with a lot of stuff.
We are.
But yeah, apparently I do, and apparently I'm intimidating.
No.
So
Wow, your hands are
my
disappearing.
hands are
I'm so scared.
disappearing.
Where's that punch coming from?
You don't know. Oh man. See, this is why I have to write down all the questions, because it totally goes off the rails. Like I could spend like 8 hours just talking to people.
Which is good. It's just a lot of editing later.
And I don't know how to do that because I'm not very good with technology. Give me 90s technology. I could figure it out.
There we go. So, Jeff, he's my videographer. If you're listening to this, and you will be because I'm sending it to you, you have an editing job ahead of you. There you go. I'll get it edited for you with my videographer.
Well, if he has any recommendations and anything that's cheap, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'll connect you guys. You guys are probably get along really well. He's
That'd
not
be
Lutheran,
fun.
but you'll get along
If he
well.
wants to do an episode of the Fiverr, which really turns into the 25er.
Right. So I'll connect you. He'll be good. He's doing some really good storytelling kind of videographer stuff as far as documentaries.
Sweet.
He wants to be a documentary videographer. So yeah, right, Jeff?
I really want to get on stage and tell stories.
See, it's beautiful. All right, I'll connect you guys. Remind me later.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. All right. I guess question number 3.
We're up to 3? Oh, good. All right.
We've made it to 3, guys.
We're 40% through. There we go. I'll just answer this one really fast.
Reading, doing during the lockdown.
Stuff. Question 4.
Sweet.
No,
it is a side question. Did Carol Baskin feed her husband to the tigers? Because I ask everyone this.
I have no idea. I'm deliberately not watching that. Let me pull up not like I'm avoiding that question. I just don't know the answer. So I've been reading. So I started doing more meditation, and I'm using Insight Timer or Headspace. I really like Insight Timer. Other people like Headspace. I'm using Downward Dog to learn yoga, which is crazy. I have a home workout app, so I'm doing more of that.
Nice.
I'm deliberately trying to set aside like 20 minutes a day to do meditation workout kind of stuff, if not more. What I'm really bad at, because I got super busy today, is like go outside, like walk on the block or something. Like I took my dog out this morning, but I haven't been outside since then. I teach public speaking to kids, and I asked them last night I had a class with several kids. Some of them were outside that day. Most of them haven't been outside in like a month. I'm like, dude, go outside, breathe some fresh air. Let's get in your front yard and go, right? So get outside, get some fresh air, do what I'm not doing. And I'm looking at where's my history? Books. How to Talk to Anyone by Leal Loudness, which is kind of a updated version of how to make friends with anybody. What's the Dale Carnegie book? Whatever it is, How to Make Friends.
How to influence people, or
yeah, How to Be Everybody's Best Friend.
Yeah.
It's really good. It's super practical, and it's kind of updated. I mean, the book is about 10 years old now, but it's updated from Dale Carnegie, which is what, the 40s. So
right.
it's adapted to kind of today's culture. What else? Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss, which is all about negotiation, and he was the lead FBI negotiator to handle international hostage negotiations.
He has I just saw he has a class on Master Class that I'm totally gonna watch.
Oh my gosh, it's his book is really good. It's really detailed. I was taking like a ton of notes, and I don't remember any of them. Well, a couple of them I remember. But You Are Not So Smart by David McCraney is really good. It talks about things like cognitive bias, or what's that thing where we always seek out confirmation bias, cognitive dissonance, or confirmation bias. I always get those two confused. Or the other things that sort of fuck up our brain. So we think we're smart, and then we're like, our brain is just really just fucking with us, right? So that book is kind of saying, hey, if you're aware of these things, if you're aware of confirmation bias, then you can overcome that and be more open-minded. Biased by Jennifer Eberhardt is about race relations. And so she teaches at Stanford. And I just started reading Range by David Epstein. I haven't gotten through that one yet because I just started. But these are all the books I've read in like the past 6 weeks. And because I've taken that extra time, I'm not in transit anymore. I'm staying at home. Like I got that extra time. So every day I'm trying to read like 20 minutes or read a chapter or something new.
Oh, good for you.
A lot of stuff. Yeah.
I should be more intentional about that too.
Well, if I just sit around and worry, that doesn't help. So I'm like, okay, I'll read something. I'll learn something. And I took a class on leadership, communication, leadership, and compassion. And so I paid money to like the classes you're talking about. Paid a little money, took a class, got a certificate. I wanted to get some more leadership experience, and this was on leadership communication. So there's times that I've been diving into trying to do something, because if you feel like you're progressing, even if you look around and you're like, it's the same 4 fucking walls every day, if you feel like you're progressing, if you're working out and moving and breathing and learning, it does something, maybe Mr. Assessment, but there's something in the brain that sort of gives us hope. It keeps us moving forward, and we feel better. And
it feels like you have some sort of mission.
Yeah, exactly, right.
Most of us
check stuff off your to-do list, right? So yeah.
Huh. Interesting. So this isn't part of the fiver, but
oh no, I'm not ready.
It's interesting because I think people that are super smart often feel like they're not smart.
Yeah, it's true. And actually, there's a study that the people who think they're smart aren't smart, and the people who are smart think they're not smart, which is why you have really ignorant people.
Dunning-Kruger.
That are just so sure about things when they're wrong. And people who are really smart are like, I'm not really sure. So they don't sound as sure, because like really brilliant scientists are really cautious about their findings because they don't want to be wrong. So the ignorant people in many cases win the argument, because they're so sure that the earth is flat, or that vaccinations are,
or that we just give up. We're like,
right, or we just don't want to waste our time.
All right. You go do that, dude.
Yeah,
no, it's just fascinating because I've often felt that. And then one of my good friends from work expressed that same thing, that he didn't feel confident, and he's like, I don't suffer ignorance well. So if
I gotcha. Yeah.
If you're dumb, like, I'm kind of done with you.
Yeah, especially if you're dumb and you don't want to be smart, like you don't want to learn, you're not open-minded. Like I can love anybody if you're ignorant, but you're open. You're like, please tell me more. Well, I'll consider your position. Like if they're at least somewhat receptive to having a conversation, I'm like, sweet, let's connect. But if they're like, no, and they're just like a wall, then that's when you're assessing.
Like, I know everything. You don't understand. I know everything. No, like, it's amazing the ability for people that are humble to interact with other people.
Yes.
And when you're not humble and not recognizing what you know is what you don't know, and that goes to the willingness to learn.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
the willingness to learn.
It is.
Oh shit! We just found a gem.
We
It's the
did.
willingness
We
to
did.
learn.
And to still learn, because I mean, I graduated with an honors degree in communications, but I'm suspecting a few new things have changed since then. So I'm like, well, what can I learn now that wasn't taught to me 20 years ago,
Right.
rather than holding on to what's 20 years ago? And so I think we all, especially today, we all have new things that we have to learn. And I think being a continual learner, whether you take a class or read a book or whatever, do something, because you're just going to get old and stuck in your ways, man.
I still don't understand how people cannot be like continuous learners.
Oh,
Like,
oh, right.
like how do you just go through life being like, whoop, I did a thing. I did a thing, guys. Guys, I did a thing.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, well,
Yeah,
good for
yeah.
you.
Live in the glory day. Bring up Bruce Springsteen. Glory days. Right, but don't make me sing. Right. Well, Bruce Springsteen can't sing either, but he's amazing.
Well, we can listen to Glory Days, but then you don't listen to The Ghost of Tom Joad, which is my favorite Bruce Springsteen song.
That's
So,
awesome. That's
yeah.
great. I'll just play the Bengals again too.
There you go. And you just listen to Walk Like an Egyptian.
Right. This is my song for Dan. Wait, no, it's Eternal Flame.
Look, I'm dabbing.
Right. No, please don't do that. Oh my God.
I don't even know what that is.
Oh, well, every 20-year-old has just turned off their Zoom.
This is why I have like 12 people that watch this.
You get like 1,000 followers and then you dab, and like 90% of them just are like, I'm done.
guys, I'm dabbing with the green screen, and my arms disappear.
Come on, man.
Guys, my arms disappear as I did. Oh,
You're a
there we
dabbing
go.
musician.
There we go.
There they are. There they are. Oh my God. Wow, that's freaking. They're pretty awesome.
Yeah. All right.
All right.
But hey, I'm learning stuff. I'm learning how to make videos.
You see, you're continually learning, and you're sending yourself out there and not afraid to make mistakes, or you are, but you do it anyway. So that's awesome.
I'm super scared, and I'm gonna get super jazzed afterwards. And unfortunately, my wife's gonna have to listen to me going, "Oh, I talked to David about this, and this, and then I have to read this book, and then I have to do this."
That's right. Just do it already. Right. That's
yeah.
Okay. She loves you. It's okay.
She does.
Yeah.
Because otherwise she wouldn't put up with my shit. Because I have a lot of shit.
See? We're going back to that forgiveness thing, which I think we're coming up to that forgiveness thing.
Yeah, that's number 5, actually.
Right.
We're only at number 4. This is my wife's question. Because when she told me that I had to create this, and she thought it'd be a good idea, because probably she didn't want to be stuck in the house with me all the time. So she said I should ask everyone this. What is something people don't know about you or would be surprised to know about you?
You know what's funny is you gave me these questions ahead of time, and that's the one I'm like, oh yeah, I should probably have thought about that one. The others are easy.
Yeah, oh, you did. See, here's the thing is like, I try not to send the questions out too early because I don't want you to think about them too much because I want it to be organic.
Which is great because I kind of scanned them and went, yeah, no problem, I got this. Except for this one question. Actually, you know what it is? Of course, I've given this in a speech, but so people know this. But a lot of people get surprised by this when I do say it, is that I actually used to be and still am, even though I'm an extrovert, I'm a really shy extrovert. I'm like you were talking about the ENFP. I'm an ENFJ now. I guess I'm more judgmental in my life, but I'm like 51 extrovert, 49 introvert. And the acting, no problem. Speaking, no problem. Got to lead a workshop, no problem. At a party, great. If the party is for me and I'm the center of attention, I'm all there. But if I have to show up to somebody else's party and mingle, or if I have to go to some networking thing and just talk to people, or if I got to meet somebody I don't really know for like coffee, it's weird. It scares the shit out of me. Like there's people at work that I get along with great at work, and we all get along fine. And as a group, we're all like, hey man, that's great. But if I were to be like, let's go grab a coffee, just you and I would be like, I would never do that because I wouldn't know what to say. And at the same time, I would do that because it's a challenge for me. But most of the time when I say that, people go, really? You're shy? I'm like, yeah, I'm scared, because I don't like the awkward silence. And yet awkward silence, I think we should just embrace it and ask questions. I mean, I've had to study how to have a conversation with people, like people study chemistry. Like, okay, what questions do I ask? By the way, Vanessa Van Edwards, she has a website called The Science of People. She has a YouTube channel, and she calls herself the recovering awkward person. And as soon as I saw that, I'm like, you're my hero. And so she has done the science of how do I have a conversation with somebody. And so she's got a ton of research and data and tips on YouTube, and you can take her courses, and she's got a ton of free stuff. So it's just, what questions can you ask when you meet somebody? What should you know at a networking party? How do you end a conversation? Because I'm the guy that goes to a networking party, gets stuck with the guy who just like talks but doesn't look at you and just goes blah, 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 and you don't know how to end the conversation, and then you're exhausted, so you go home, rather than trying to find people that can genuinely make a connection with. And so you learn those things, and she teaches it. So Vanessa Van Edwards. But yes, that's the secret. I'm secretly shy, even though I just rambled about how shy I am for like 3 straight minutes.
You're a spirit animal.
Oh, I know. You're my Patronus, man.
I'm a giant deer, and I'm gonna run.
You got one behind you?
No, I mean that's one of the things. It's thankfully with my profession that I have now close to 20 years with.
Wow.
I know how to be like, I'm kind of done. I'm just gonna walk away.
Yeah.
But I feel so guilty when I do it. It's awful.
Really? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Right. You
So
did it, though.
yeah.
I mean, you talking about how scared you are doing this. I'm like, the reason why I haven't done a Zoom or an Instagram Live, I did an Instagram Live on somebody else's site the other day, and he's just starting, so it's not like he has 8,000 followers. He's got a decent following, but I'm like, oh my God, you're launching yourself out there. And I'm like, unless I have 1,000 people, I'm not interested. But I'm like, how do I get 1,000 people unless I do it? Like, for me, I'm so scared that I put it out there and nobody's going to watch, so why bother? And yet I don't mind doing a play or doing public speaking or doing that. But it's weird, right? So I tell myself this horrible story, and yet I teach people how to tell different stories so that they can succeed.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly this. That's exactly it.
You get
me. One of the great things is my best friend that we're gonna start the Trophy Strife podcast.
Love it.
He keeps watching it and he gives me feedback. And anytime that I ask somebody, like, did you watch it? And they're like, yeah, it was good. I was like, well, what's your criticism? Oh, no, it was just good. But I have a few friends that are like, oh, it looks like you're actually finding your lane. You're doing
nice.
better and talking with people. And
good.
So it's so funny because I think you and I are cut from the same cloth.
Yeah.
Where we want the instant recognition.
Yes.
We want the 1,000 followers.
Yeah.
And why is Jose Andres not on my YouTube channel?
Right. So why did somebody come in and then leave again right away? Oh no. Right. Yeah. It's totally. It's. Excuse me. And I talk about this even in my speeches. It's like, you have a room full of 1,000 people, and 999 people say amazing, and one person said, yeah, I didn't really like it, and you're fixated on that one person who didn't like it, even though you reached everybody else. And I heard a really good feedback from a professional speaker who said 90% of the people should be in love with you. About 10% of the people should get nothing or not like it. If you have everybody go, yeah, it was okay, you've touched nobody. You should push the limit where most people really love it, but a few people were not affected or didn't like it, because that means you're kind of hitting the sweet spot. So the last thing I want to do is have everybody go, yeah, it's good. And you're like, oh, that doesn't help me at all. And so that's encouraging to know that, hey, those few people, that one person that goes, man, I didn't like it. It's like, oh, we're good. That means that maybe I did something right, or nobody liked it, but that's another story.
So I think, because I actually gave a talk last August to Allison got laid off.
Okay.
And so she worked she was part of like a meetup that it's called NoCoNet. So it was all these people that got laid off, and this is before Corona, laid off from tech jobs. What?
Yeah, it'd be a big group now.
Right?
Except for you can't meet.
So I gave a talk, and like again, like I go off the rails really easily. So it turned into like I was talking to people about like, if you find a job, you need to make sure that you're interested in it, have some sort of passion for it. Doesn't have to be 100%, but and then it turned into like, what is your passion? Find your passion. And it's all these middle-aged men who are like, well, how am I going to pay my bills? Like, well, you find a way to pay your bills, and then you find your passion. But then this is the worst. This is the worst because they hand out little slips of paper, and they just scan them and email them to you.
Oh,
like,
okay.
Yeah, like their critiques. Like he said, a lot.
Right. Okay.
And I was like, you know what? I don't know any of these people. I don't value their opinion, because they haven't earned it. But finding the people in your life that you value their opinion, you invite them into your life. You invite them into like this. And I keep, because also like I'm self-deprecating, but I call it my bullshit YouTube show. I invite the people that I know will give me honest feedback, and fully embracing that, and thinking, oh, okay, I could have done this better, and this is what they saw, and moving outside of A, my mind, and B, the mind of, like, if God forbid I ever get popular on the internet, I am never reading the comments.
No, you probably shouldn't. You probably
shouldn't.
No. I think Brene Brown's, I'm going to paraphrase it because I don't know it off my head, but Brene Brown says that unless you've taken a risk like I've taken a risk, you have no right to judge my risk taking.
Wow.
And that's a paraphrase, but that's essentially what she said. I'm putting it in my own words, but yeah, and I'm like,
that's amazing.
Yeah, steal it, man. Steal it from Brene Brown, who I stole it from her and reworded it. But so all those guys are like, well, how do I pay my bills? I'm like, well, you know what?
I don't know. I figured out how to pay my fucking bills.
Right. So sometimes there's
and I work in mental health. Like, you work in the tech industry. You could do better than me.
Yeah,
because basically I'm a glorified McDonald's employee, which is not to say that people that work at McDonald's are bad or not.
They're heroes
essential
right now,
workers.
Right.
They're great.
Yes.
I love it. But yeah, like, anyways. See, I go off the rails.
They don't get paid a lot. Right. So that's
right.
It wasn't disparaging what they do. It's how much they get paid, and they should get paid more.
Because we don't value that stuff.
Yeah, true.
I'll get off my soapbox.
There you go. Hey, it's
okay. Shit. All right. So last question.
Dun,
and this is my favorite that I found.
And it's my least favorite, but it's okay.
It's probably going to be everyone's least favorite.
Except for yours, but you're the asker.
The reason that it's my favorite is I chose to apologize to somebody that I hurt 8 years ago.
Ooh.
And I think it's powerful in the ability to apologize and ask for forgiveness from somebody. So, David, tell me the last time you apologized to somebody or the last time you asked for forgiveness.
I was thinking about this question. I was thinking about this question earlier today. Actually, I'll aside from like family, especially because we're all cloistered together, right? There's a lot of like that forgiveness that goes on.
Yeah.
There was one that may be outside of the scope of what you're thinking, but it fit really well. Is that where I work? I don't want to give too many details because I don't want to throw anybody under the bus. But where I work, there was a potential person who was going to come aboard. They paid a down payment, and then turns out that they want to fit. They wanted a refund, and technically, by all rights, we don't have to give them a refund. It's clear that it's a non-refundable payment.
Gotcha.
And this person was unresponsive for several days, so that we had to rush everything before the deadline to get this person what they needed in time. And so what should have been like a 2-week period turned into a 2-day period. So we rushed everything, and then they're like, "Oh no, I don't want this. Give me my money back." And so not only did they drop the ball, we also have a policy that even if they didn't drop the ball, we don't have to give you this small amount of money back. And then I said, "Okay, fine. I understand. It's a crazy situation. We're in crazy times around the world right now. Let me just see what I can do." And then I put a shout out to the other people that were in charge of that. He didn't hear back for like a week. I wasn't too worried about it. And this person wrote me this really long, almost scathing email that said, "You did this and you did that and you did that." And my temptation, which I'm kind of glad it was on email, because if it was over the phone or in person, I might have responded emotionally. Here's something I learned from that course I'm really digesting, is in an emotional time, if it's just like a policy debate or you're talking to somebody and you disagree on something, I feel like I'm pretty good at taking a breath and reasoning things out. But if it's something that has like an emotional attack to it, or I'm emotionally connected to that person, I tend to respond emotionally, and then logic goes out the window and I say stupid shit. So this was one that sort of felt like a personal attack. So I'm really glad that there was an email, and it gave me a chance to take a breath.
Yeah.
And what I really wanted to say was, well, you did this and you screwed up, and this is our policy, and you don't get your money back. So, but instead I went, "I am really sorry that I haven't gotten back to you in the last week. I know you were expecting a response. I should have kept you in the loop. And let me see what I can do for you. Here's the situation of why there was a delay." And then I sort of explained the crazy situation that everybody's in, but there were some personal situations internally that we were dealing with as well. Not horrible, but just, people not in the office for certain reasons and stuff like that. And so I gave a thorough explanation, but I never went and said, "You did this, you did that." In fact, I apologized and said, "I'm really sorry. It's my fault I dropped the ball." And the reason why I did that was not because I felt like I was wrong. I probably could have gotten back with her sooner and said, "Haven't heard anything yet, but I'll keep you in the loop." But we always have a chance to create a good story or a bad story. And apologizing gives us the ability to create a good story, because it makes the other person, whether we feel like we've been wronged or not, it makes the other person go, okay, good story. We can move forward. Because if we don't apologize, if we don't ask for forgiveness, then there's a bad story that generates from that. And that bad story begets a bad story begets a bad story. And suddenly this little thing can be this giant, huge thing that can be a rift in a relationship, a rift in a business relationship between two clients, a rift in a company, anything like that could explode into something much bigger. Maybe a bad story for a company that suddenly there's all this bad news about XYZ company on the internet because somebody didn't get what they wanted. Where if you just say, "You know what, I'll take ownership of this." Now you've created a situation where people go, "Okay, we weren't a fit, but they treated me okay, and that's good." Now you've got, hopefully, At worst, you've got somebody that's kind of neutral, but hopefully by then you've got a fan. You've got somebody that's in your corner that said, hey, it didn't work for me, but these guys treated me really well. And you can bring all the way that back down to a personal when you go to bed at night and you go, okay, it's okay. I actually don't have to go to sleep next to this person seething in anger because there's unforgiveness, but just say, you know what, it's okay. And the way I pictured it is like a Venn diagram where you have these two people and you have this relationship between two people, business, consumer, personal, whatever. And then there's this little tiny, you know, Venn diagrams usually have like a pretty big gap here. It's this little tiny sliver of a thing right here, which is that little tiny thing that is causing unforgiveness, but you're not looking at the entire two circles, which is the entirety of your relationship.
Oh,
if you just take the pin out of that little thing and go, you know what, a relationship is bigger than this fuck up. Now we can move forward. Now, if there's fuck up after fuck up after fuck up, or if it's abusive or whatever, or a business is just screwing over customers or whatever, that thing becomes bigger than the relationship, and maybe that's time to move on and sever that relationship. But most of the time, people are well-meaning, and it's this little tiny thing we're hanging on to, and we're making it a big thing, when really with the entirety of the relationship, it's a little thing you could just take out and say, we're good, let's move on. Let's work through this, and then let's move on. So that's the way I see it.
God, that's so inspiring.
Why, thank you. I just thought of that actually.
Love it. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, I had some clarifying questions, but you answered all of them through your description. So thank you so much, David, for willing to spend God knows how much time, because I don't have a clock in front of me.
It's been over 2 hours.
Yeah.
But it's okay, man. It
Thank
feels
you so
like
much.
nothing, man. Remember the time when you just sat in our living room and we just talked shit for the longest time? That was so good.
I think we should just talk shit. Do some Zoom meetings. I don't know when we're going to make it out to Vancouver. Allison wants to make it up there, so
good. Well, and we want to go to Florida, so let's see what happens. I did hear a cool thing that the Science of Happiness person said. That she said, you know what's really cool? One of the things that happened with her is she's like getting together and doing like online yoga classes with like college people that she hasn't met in like 30 years.
Yeah.
And she said one of the good things that can come out of this, because we're all stuck at home, is we're reconnecting with old friends. We're reconnecting with people that were important to us, that life is just sort of taken away. It's not good or bad. But I thought, oh my God. And, you know, we knew we had this set up. So I'm like, oh my gosh, like Dan. So Dan, one of the things, and I'm in the health and wellness committee at work, and they said, what are you thankful for today? And I said, I'm thankful for old friends. And I totally thought of you because I love you.
Thank you.
Eternal flame, buddy.
Tell somebody that you haven't talked to that you love them.
Yes.
I love you, buddy.
I love you too, buddy.
You got me to cry.
Aww,
which is it's not very hard.
I understand.
I'm pretty easy at crying. I cry at all Disney movies, but
it's okay. Me too, and I'm pretty verklempt myself. So you get a little tightening in the throat there.
But yeah, let's schedule and figure out times that we can talk together.
Let's do it.
Let's not say we're going to schedule it, because if I don't schedule it, then it won't happen.
I gotcha. I understand. Schedule it. Plan the schedule. Usually this time is pretty good for me, so let's absolutely do it. We'll shoot the shit.
Sweet. All right, I'm gonna try to stop recording, but I am awful at all of this shit.